Yes, Polkadot is falling, and I believe it's going to continue to fall over the next few days. And that's something we need to talk about right now. What I have in front of me is the daily chart for DOT. This is following what we've been talking about the last few days, having to do with these altcoins and how they were following Bitcoin. So I'm going to start with Polkadot, but quickly switch over to Bitcoin because that's what's driving the market right now. Over the last few videos, towards the beginning of this week, we noted that Polkadot was in this range right here between 7.3 and 7.6. We also noted, if I look back historically, that that's a very critical, well, not critical, but important level, going back even to November of 2022, where that range held the highs of this swing high. We broke through it, but immediately got rejected and fell back under it back in February of 2023. So this level, 7.3 to 7.6, has been important for the price structure of Polkadot lately. It acted as resistance here. We finally broke through it nicely, acted as support here, acted as some support here, and then we've just been yo-yoing back and forth between it. It's like a magnet that keeps pulling price toward this target. But the last few days we have fallen out of this range and we're headed down, it looks like, down to 6.3 at this point. If I had to guess, that's where we're going to end up before we ever break out of this downward trend line right here. So my point is, I think we'll hit 6.3 before we ever break out of this and go higher. And the reason for that is, quite frankly, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you can see if my chart will load here, has a rising channel, or was in a rising channel that had contained price since the beginning of December, grinding higher with these higher highs and higher lows. This was post ETF approval. The day after the ETFs were approved by the SEC, we spiked up to 49,000 and have rejected that level very hard. We've gone from 49,000 to a low of around 40,600 so far, and it just appears like we're going to hit 40,000. Now, I've been saying when Bitcoin was around this area right here that I believed we were going to hit 40,000 before we ever went up to 48 again, and that has turned out to be true. This range right here, this rising wedge, this rising channel was holding for a while, but I surmised that we had two things coming. One was that, and I did say we might could bounce up before to 44.5 or something like that before we hit 40,000. And it looks like we have just lost the bottom of that channel and are going to go ahead and tag 40,000 in Bitcoin. And that is not only for DOT, but for many coins has caused us to break these trend lines, these support areas. And you can see these trend lines like this one right here, where we've had a high, then a low, and a lower high, and a lower low, and a lower high, and now perhaps even a lower low. That's just a reflection. This trend line reflects that lower lows or in lower highs nicely. It looks something like that. And that's not the only coin we see this on. We see it on ADA. We see it on VET. We see it on Doge. We see it on Solana. You get my point. You see it on Avalanche. Everywhere we look, we've got these coins that are wrestling with these lower lows and are forcing a break below, into or below their support. And that's just what we're seeing across all of crypto, most of crypto, because of this fall in Bitcoin. And that is what has happened to DOT. We have now pushed comfortably, unfortunately, into this range of 6.3 to 7.3. And like I've already said, I see us challenging the lows here of 6.3 before I see us breaking out of this trend line going higher. Once structure becomes apparent and as the price prints, it creates its own structure. It makes these levels important, or at least exposes the levels that are important to the market. And once you fall below these levels, it's hard to get back above them. It certainly doesn't mean we won't, but you can see to get above this level, we had to hit that level 2 or 3 or 4 days in a row before we finally eventually just broke through. And then we were in that level for a few days. And this was kind of that yo-yo I've talked about. But my point is, for when we're making lows like this, it's just going to be harder to make those highs and break out of that structure to the upside. Now, harder just means it's going to take time. It doesn't mean it's impossible. It doesn't mean it won't happen. Long term, I'm still very bullish on crypto, Bitcoin, and most of the altcoins. So it's just the structure that's printing right now. And when I say hard, I just mean time. That means it's going to take more time to turn this back around on the short term and start going back up to this 9.5. I don't know how much time. A lot of it depends on how much of this structure is destroyed before it makes a turn back around. And we'll just have to wait and see. But it seems pretty apparent we are going to be testing this 6.5 area in dot here soon. Let's go back to Bitcoin. I've already mentioned 40,000. Looks like we could hit that today. I don't know if we will, but looks like we will. If we do, expect dot to be meandering on down to this 6.5 level. And if we do break this 40,000 in Bitcoin right here and start entering this level between 38 and 40, dot's just going to keep falling. Now, how far is it going to fall? I think right here. Now, some are calling for this 38 to 34,000 to 38,000 level in Bitcoin. Okay, which if you look at that, does not look unreasonable. Let's zoom out on Bitcoin. Bitcoin has made a fantastic run up since its lows back in November of 16,000. It's done this, and skyrocketed up from October to December. So you can't expect any financial instrument to do this and then this without a significant pullback. Okay, it has just gone up magnificently, well, consistently to start with, and then magnificently since. And you're just going to have to expect the market to give back some gains, which is what we're doing now. Here's the 34 to 38,000 range. Are we going to enter that range? We could. I'll just put it that way. Be completely blunt. We could. And if we do, guess what? It's just going to take more time to go back up. You're going to have your patience pants on. There's nothing wrong with this structure. There's nothing bad with the structure. There's nothing long-term destructive. If we end up into this 34 to 38,000 range, it's fine. It's not fun, but it's fine as far as the long-term health of Bitcoin and crypto. If we go back into this range, rebase, reset, and then perhaps start wandering up to these highs again until we get up to 45,000, kind of grind up to it. And then one day, perhaps we'll wake up and find over a week, we've gone up into the 50,000s. I could see that happening, and that's certainly what I'm hoping for. This is no victory lap video. I want Bitcoin to be very high. I want my coins that I hold to go very high. I want DOT to go very high. I am not anti-crypto. I'm pro-crypto and invested in it. So I do want crypto to go up. But this is not going to surprise me. Something like that going into this level here. It may not happen quickly. It may take a little bit of time. But we could get into this 34 to 38,000 range. Be prepared for it if we do. And I think that would be equivalent to this 5 to 5.5 range. Something like this where we've grinded. You can see where these are, again, important levels. It holds a bunch of price. It holds a bunch of movement, a bunch of battles. That's what you see when you see price going up and down in a continuous range. It's a battle between bears and bulls. So if we do go into the 34 to 38,000 for Bitcoin, this is where we'll head for DOT. Are we going to do that? Again, I'm just saying we could. If you're in DOT long term and want to pick some more up, I think when you get the 5, if we get the 5, not saying we will, if we get the 5, that's going to be a good time to pick it up. But Bitcoin is just weak right now, and DOT is reflecting that. I just saw that candle printing right now. We're making even lower lows as I record this. This was a low of 6.82, and right now it's had a low of 6.78. So yeah, DOT's just going to fall. And how far will it fall? It's all going to depend on Bitcoin and how far it falls. I'm just telling you what you got to start preparing for is for Bitcoin to, it's definitely going to hit 40 and it could end up in this range. Not trying to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm not the type of guy who says Bitcoin to 200,000 by the end of the month. I'm not that guy. I'm invested in crypto And I want Bitcoin to be 200,000 by the end of the month, but this is reality. And I got sucked in early in my crypto days by this coin's going to moon and that coin's going to moon, and I lost a lot of money. I'm not trying to do that to you. I want you to understand the market moves up and down, breathes in and out. Again, this would not be destructive price action even if we got down to 5. Do I want to see it? Absolutely not. But, and I'm not even saying get ready for that yet, but you definitely need to get ready for this 6.5, maybe even close to 6.3 levels, because I think those are going to be coming pretty soon in dot. Okay, again, not trying to be a bearer of bad news, just trying to show you what I'm seeing and what has played out over the last few weeks. Be careful out there, trade carefully, and I'll keep you updated.